Have you ever dreamed about a better way of shipping things? A way that you can get them faster than you can today, like in hours or minutes rather than days? I've dreamed about this. I planned this. And one day I decided that I was going to build a prototype to figure this all out. Yes, I was going to build the first underground shipping network to ship things. And so I got some great big pipe, 12 miles of pipe, because I was going to build a tunnel from my house to my grandparents' house 12 miles away. And yes, it did take a long time to build this. Why, it took me 6 whole months of burying this great big, huge pipe underground to ship something. And after I got it built, I had to install a great big vacuum to suck whatever I wanted to send right through that tunnel. And then I developed a pod because I decided that the best thing to ship first was myself. Yes, I would be the first test suspect. And so one day I got into the pod and I hit the button to turn on that vacuum and I shot right down that pipe until I hit the first turn. And that's when I got stuck. Yes, I got stuck. And my capsule broke just a little bit. And the pressure, it built up behind me, and it shot me out right at 200 miles per hour, at which time I passed out because I was now inside of a vacuum, and you cannot breathe inside of a vacuum. Well, now, I was supposed to arrive at my grandparents' house at about 3 p.m. And I must have gotten stuck a lot of times because I didn't arrive at their house until 2 a.m. in the morning. And since I was not able to turn off the vacuum, I shot into their house at 200 miles per hour and I went up, up, up and away and then down, 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 where I landed right on top of my grandma's prized rose bush. The rose bush that had won her grand championship in the Kansas State Fair 5 times. And I passed out for a little while when I hit the rose bush. I came to, and my grandparents had come out of the house. Grandpa, bat in hand, he came up to me and was going to whack, and I said, "Stop, stop, it's me, your grandson." Well, he didn't hear in time or didn't care, and I rolled to the side just in time as he annihilated what was left of my grandmother's rose bush. By now, Grandma was very angry. She grabbed the bat away from my grandpa. I got up and my grandpa and I started running away from my grandma with her bat in hand. Why, I jumped up on top of the roof to get away. Grandpa, he was as spry as I, and he jumped up on the roof too. But we didn't land on the roof. We fell into the hole that I had just created and went down into that hole. Next thing you know, we're looking up. There's Grandma on top of the roof too, saying, "I'll get you next time, my pretties." And my grandpa said, "Did she jump or did she fly?" He knew that he had said wrong, and we landed right in my capsule. And I hit the button and we went back to my house where my grandpa stayed for a while until my grandma had cooled down from being upset about the rose bush and the hole in the house. Well, I did replace my grandmother's rose bush, but it was only able to win reserve grand champion in the state fair. And I did repair their house and their roof. And that is how I learned about the ups and downs of shipping. Thank you. Well, I got one more story for you. All right. So one day, it was just the other day that I decided I was going to go fishing. Now, when I say I was going to go fishing, I don't mean I was really going to go fishing. I mean I was going to go relax in nature with a fishing pole. You see, I learned a long time ago that if it appears that you're doing something and not just taking a nap in nature, people will leave you alone. But you see, how I learned this was one time I was just out napping in the woods and somebody happened to come by and they tapped me on the shoulder and I didn't wake up. They tapped me again and I still didn't wake up. And the next thing I know, I'm being carted away in an ambulance because they think I'm having a medical emergency and I was just in a deep slumber. Well, anymore, I take a fishing pole out with me and pretend I'm fishing while I'm actually just trying to nap. Well, the particular day I'm going to tell you about, I'd gone down to the river and there was this nice little little peninsula that goes out into the river. And there was a nice stump there to sit down on and relax. And I took my fishing pole and I cast it out and I commenced to nap. And I napped for a good hour or so when I woke up and I realized I was not on shore anymore. Somehow that little peninsula was now an island floating down the river. And at first I thought, well, it was probably just my restless leg kicked in and I had loosened the island from the shore. But that wasn't it at all. I realized I was not going with the current. I was going in and out of the current. I was like, what is going on down here? And so I knelt down and I looked into the river and there were two great big flathead catfish eyes staring back at me. I was being driven by a great big fish under that island. And I reached down and I put my arm right into its mouth and I started directing that catfish down the river. But then I noticed the other side of the island was starting to break free. I looked down in that water again and there's two more great big flathead catfish eyes stared down at me. Took my other arm, put it into the mouth of the other flathead, and I commenced to steering both of those flatheads down the river. Well, everything was fine for about 15 seconds, and that's when I looked up. Sandbar ahead! Oh no, I couldn't direct this island one way or the other. There was going to be impact, and so I ripped my arms out of those flatheads' mouths, scratching both of my arms up, and I moved to one side, and I waited for impact, and when I did, I jumped right onto the back of that flathead catfish, and I started riding it in and out of the river. We were going fast down that river. There were two fishermen watching, and they nearly fell in the river when they saw us coming down the river. Why, we got to where the river meets the great big Wakanda Lake. I mean, this is a 7-mile lake, and that's when I heard it. There was there were two park officers in a boat with a megahorn saying, "You are illegally riding a flathead catfish. You must pull it over." Have you ever pulled over a flathead on a lake? Why, it took 6 miles in order to pull over that flathead and beach it. And those officers, they were not impressed, and they started writing me tickets and writing me tickets and writing me tickets, totaling $750. They said, you can either pay by the end of the day or elect for legal confinement. They were thinking I was going to elect for legal confinement, and I thought that might be the option at the end of the day. But I said, I'll try and pay you by the end of the day. And so they left, and I looked around and I said to myself, I have a great big flathead. I am at a state park. There are tons of grills. I'm going to have a fish fry. And so I commenced to cooking, and I got on all the social networks and contacted all the people I knew, put a sign out by the highway, and guess what? I had 201 people come to my fish fry at $5 a head. And at the end of the day, those officers came back expecting to take me away, and I handed them $750. And that's when they said, do you have a permit to have a fish fry in our state park? No, I didn't. And so they commenced to write me more tickets, totaling another $250. And they were like, I bet you know this time you're going to elect for legal confinement. And I gave them the other $250 and they were impressed and they left. And I got on my phone and I called up a friend and they drove me home and I gave them my last $5 that I had made. And you know what? Anymore, when I want to relax in nature, I just stay in my own backyard. Thank you.